let's introduce you to Pam and to TW. Welcome.
Our first cheese that we have to try today is our Montemori Cheddar. And I think I alluded to it earlier. Sometimes I feel a lot of pressure when I put together a cheese board because I know what good food can do for a conversation and to bring people together. So then that leads me to think, well, I need to absolutely have the perfect pairing, right? Because I want to have this right. And as a master cheesemaker at Sartori, I feel a lot of pressure too. And then I come to MontAmoré. This cheese pairs so well with so many different cheeses. I will admit I'm a beer drinker, and I find that this cheese will stand up to the most robust stout or porter. Yet it also pairs well with an amber ale or an IPA. It pairs well with dark chocolate, with mission figs, pistachios. It pairs well with pretzels. Of course, everything pairs well with pretzels. So as far as pairings, MontAmore is my #1 go-to cheese because it plays so well with so many other flavors. As people try it, what we'll taste is it's very creamy. There's a little bit of a acidic tang. It's kind of tangy, but it also has some fruitiness too. And I think because we have so many different flavors going on there, that's probably part of why it pairs so well. Typically, for pairings, we either want to be similar or we want to contrast. Well, here we have a lot going, so there's a lot of pairings that'll work.
I mean, this is MontAmore is my favorite cheese. In full transparency, I mean, it's a fan favorite. Everywhere we go, this is one that everyone always loves. We've done a lot of events where just fun, like build your own cheese board events, and MontAmore is probably the most versatile, to Pam's point, and we've done everything you can imagine. We've even done a shooter with MontAmore and Pop Rocks at an event that we did somewhere. Pam probably wouldn't be endorsed by Pam, but that was one that was a lot of fun and people enjoyed. So this one is just a lot of fun to play with, and it definitely works in a lot of different pairings because it's just such an awesome cheese and just such a great experience. It's certainly something that has to be experienced, and I wish I could get some in everybody in the country's mouth because it's just such an awesome cheddar.
Yeah, it's not an easy cheese to make. It can be a little temperamental to make, but we're up to the challenge.
This is one of my favorite cheeses. I've done this many times in classroom and also in events at cooking schools and that. And I've had a plethora of styles of pairing with this. But today, what I wanted to do was to take on some of the characteristic flavors of this. This has some unique flavor that you don't typically find, and I think this is the whole point, that you find in all cheddars. It's that little hint of that Parmesan, the Asiago, that's something that's lying in that background that really balances this, gives it a nice sweetness, gives it a tanginess, gives it a butteriness. So there's all of this complexity that works in there. And so I don't want to overpower it too much, but I do want to have fun with this. And I love this because I can do so many things. I've done pineapple with this and it works really well. But today I'm going to use the Preservation Society, their pepper jelly. And this is it's a 4 pepper jelly with a little bit of apple cider vinegar to kind of cool the heat, and then a brewer's cracker that's just sea salt. Just want to make it really simple. I don't want it to go crazy. IPAs generally are my first direction for cheddars, but this isn't your typical cheddar. So I went with the Boston Beer Company, Sam Adams Boston Lager, which is a Vienna lager style. Lots of great grain to it. You can see how amber this lager is, where you get those others that are pure clear. This has got a lot of maltiness to it, which plays on the butter, plays on simple flavors of the cheddar. So what do you usually pair with this?
One of the things that I really like about MontAmore and well, cheese in general is how well it pairs with beer. As I said earlier, I'm not really a wine drinker, I'm a beer drinker. And I love how the dairy notes, the creaminess of MontAmore, how that reacts with the carbonation in the beer. I just think they go together so well.
And I live in Wisconsin, but I don't drink beer. I don't drink at all, actually. But my favorite, thing that I think a lot of people don't necessarily, it's not maybe not their first choice, but I love pairing chocolate, especially dark chocolate with MontAmores. It's no matter what the time of year, that's something that is always fun. I think it's very surprising to people when you have it out and have them try it. And I think it's I have a bad sweet tooth, so it definitely fits with that as well. So that's one of my favorite things is a good dark chocolate.
A while back, I did a webinar with David Gremmels and his cheddar, and he was pairing it with a coffee, a cold coffee that was absolutely fabulous. So it doesn't have to be a frosty beverage, a wine. There's a lot of things that do pair well with cheddars.
Mm-hmm.
And coffee definitely would pair well because you have the dairy notes and then the bitterness with the coffee. That's a good pairing as well. Our next cheese is our Heritage Cheddar. Flavors you'll find here is kind of like a bright, sharp cheddar notes, and it pairs well with peppered salami, pesto and herb crackers, apricot preserves, and it'll do well with an IPA as well.
Yeah, this one is one of our new cheddars. So MontAmore was our first item that we had in the cheddar space. So Heritage and Old-World, the next two are the two newest cheddars that are launching nationally just this year, beginning of this year. So Heritage is brand new. In the times that when I have it in the fridge, what I like to pair it with the most, and Pam mentioned it, is a really good salami. I like spicy meats, and so a good spicy salami is definitely my go-to for this one. But we've gotten slow build due to COVID in terms of distribution, but it's definitely ramping up on this one, and we're definitely seeing some real spikes in sales where we have it in. So there is beginning to be a good amount of patron and traction as well with this item. So it's beginning to be recognized in the marketplace, and people are trying it out, which is incredibly exciting.
When I was looking at this, and we did my first tasting earlier, one of the things that I did like about it is that the contrast that we have between the two. Pam, you want to describe what you get out of the contrast between the two, between the MontAmore and Heritage?
Yes, they're totally two different cheddars. I mean, they're just going in two different directions, yet both of them are very flavorful. Lot of flavor intensity, but in different directions. And texturally, you'll see that as well. MontAmore is going to have a more crumbly texture. There's part of that is a function of the flavors being developed, and then the Heritage is flavorful too, but it has a very smooth texture. It plays very well in a sliced format, which MontAmore has always rebelled against being sliced, basically.
And I would just say when you have three cheddars in this space that we're not, we've talked a lot about age, and it's not something that is what we're using to differentiate our items. So it's incredibly important that there is a significant amount of difference between each one of them has to stand on their own. So I think to your point, Michael, that's definitely intentional, and Pam and the team have developed three very unique flavor experiences, even and texturally as well. And even, you know, visually, when you look at the bricks, there's a lot of visual distance between the three of them. So it's important when you're not aging them different from different time frames, that and you have three unique flavors, that they're definitely stand up, and there is enough difference between the three. And I think, you know, what you'll find is that these three definitely are three very unique flavor experiences for our patrons.
I was trying to think about some of the pairings that I've done in the past with cheddars and this being a bit more tangier than what the MontAmoré is, a little bit stronger, a little bit more robust. And as you said, Pam, about that it goes better with an IPA, it can stand up to the hops in that. I love tangy, sharp cheddars with chocolate. But this isn't just one way. There's so many little things in it. So the only thing that I could think of was that it needed maybe a little bit of sweet contrast to the chocolate. So I decided that I would go with the Savanna bee honey with that's whipped honey with chocolate. How about that? Little chocolate whipped honey on here. And you know, it doesn't need a cracker. This is more than enough.
It's interesting. I like how you picked up on the tang, or you know, we might even call that acidity in this cheese. And there's a tang in MontAmoré as well, but it's a totally different kind of acidity between the two cheeses.
It is. So with that acidity, I really wanted to kind of keep that going, but also I wanted to have something that would bring out more of the butter. So I went with, this is a Gypsy Circus cider out of Tennessee. And this is an orange blossom style. And it's got some really rich flavors to it. Apple, sweet apple. So the cheddar and the apple and the flavors there are just really match. They work well together. And then add the chocolate and honey to it. It's pretty substantial flavors across the board, but the cheese handles them. You don't lose the cheese in this process. A lot of times you do a pairing and that's all you taste is what you're pairing it with is. But you know, the intensity that you have with this cheese, the strength that it has, it really pairs up really well. You can take this anywhere. You could, you know, bring it onto anybody's house because it gives you enough flavors. It will pair up. I could imagine using this in several cooking recipes where you really need a little bit more strength.
As we go to our third very flavorful cheddars, this is one of the struggles we have. So typically we'll set up a tasting or a cheese board where we'll start with our least intense flavors and we'll build from there, right? Because otherwise, if you start super intense, maybe you lose some of the subtleties of some of the other cheeses. Well, here's our challenge. We have three cheeses that all have a fair amount of flavor intensity. How do we go through that and end up so that we can really appreciate the subtleties of each one? So we're going to finish with our Old-World Cheddar. To me, Old-World Cheddar is your classic warm apple pie cheddar. Every slice of apple pie deserves to be served warm with a slice of good cheddar on top of it. Here in the Old World, we get a lot of buttery notes. We get a lot of that umami, that savoriness. It pairs very well with apples, whether it's in a pie or if it's Fuji apples on the side. It'll pair well with almonds, and even like a baguette with cherry preserves. And I think it does well as far as beverages. It'll do well with a stout, as will MontAmore.
TW.
Yeah, this one for me, all three of these are wonderful cheddars. Old World, I really enjoy with an apple. I mean, I would eat it in apple pie, no doubt about it. But this one is just such a simple snack to cut up an apple in the fall and eat it with Old-World and a handful of almonds. I mean, it's a very easy. Our cheeses are, you know, we're a premium artisan cheese company, but all of these cheeses are they don't have to be brought out just during special occasions during the holiday. These can be eaten on a Tuesday night as a snack as well. And so this one for me is a go-to in my cheese drawer in the refrigerator when I'm looking for a quick snack with apples, almonds, etc. This one definitely is also, I think this one's going to end up being another fan favorite in our portfolio because it is a fantastic cheddar. And the blue is just such an amazing design. Like that design just always pops whenever I see it, not only in the picture but on the shelf. Like that just really pops, and the design is I think is really sharp and arresting on shelf when all three of them are together.
Originally, when I did the tasting, I wanted to pair it up with some charcuterie, and so I thought it'd be clever because Volpi does an heritage prosciutto that's slow aged for 18 months, and I thought I'll do that with the heritage cheddar. It didn't work, you know. I mean, sometimes, I mean, it's okay, but I really lost the subtleties of the prosciutto. And so I tried it with the Old-World, and like you said, it's got such softness to it that with the sweet, buttery flavor of the prosciutto and the richness and buttery flavor of the cheese, they are, it's an amazing pairing, match together. And you don't need a cracker with this. However, I found that they really just kind of settle in really easy together. And there wasn't a lot of, you know, it was nice. And you could eat the whole thing. You could eat all 7 ounces and eat all the prosciutto. And it was like, yeah. So I thought, okay, I need to kick this up a little bit. So I picked up the Taste Elevated, and this is sweet and tangy mustard seeds. And so these are, you know, soaked mustard seeds that are really soft. So you got a little sweet, little tangy, prosciutto, and the cheese.
Nice pairing.
With all that flavor, as much as the apples and the cider would probably work really well, I wanted something that would enhance all of it, but it would stand up. And so I went with the Sierra Nevada, this hop bullet. And alone with the cheese, it's a little over, just a little. You know, you got to be a big hop fan to like the hop bullet in the first place. So the cheddar actually brings the hops down a little bit, and the beer brings the butter up a little bit, so you get a nice balance. But when you put all these together, the mustard seed, the prosciutto, the cheese, and then the beer, it's a pretty big thing together.
Nice, nice.
Well, Margaret, ask what you do at Sartori.
Me or
You or me?
It says, what does bacon do for Sartori?
That's a good question. I think a lot of people are wondering that. But yeah, I'm the director of marketing, and so I work with a team of folks on the marketing and sales side to really own the brand and how it shows up in the marketplace, and manage our innovation process and new items on the shelf, social media, all brand touch points. That's all me and my team. And so Pam and I work together very, very closely on new items that we're bringing to market, like the new cheddars. And we've got a number of projects in the hopper right now that we're incredibly excited about that our teams overlap on. So that's why we're here today as a dynamic duo. She is certainly the brains of the operation, no doubt about it. My job is just to is Pam's handler most of the time, and trying to make sure that you know, we're getting the brand story out there, as long as in addition to the expertise that we have in cheese making and the science that goes into making these great cheeses.
I always thought you were here to harass me about my favorite football team.
No, yeah, that's just another perk to the job. So I'm from Minnesota, and my last name is Bacon, which is also funny working for a cheese company. But I'm the only like non-Packer fan probably here in Eastern Wisconsin, so we have a lot of fun with that as well.
We'll bring you over.
Yeah, I don't know.
Any last things you want to say before we conclude our wonderful pairings and information?
I really want to thank you, Michael, and everyone who helped make this possible so that we had this opportunity to share our cheeses. I think the world can use a little more joy, and a place to start is with good food. So thank you.
I'd echo that. I mean, this is thank you so much. This is awesome. It's really fun to talk about the great cheeses that we're bringing to market. It's always, I always love working with Pam and getting her exposure to a broader audience, given that she's on the top of her field as a master cheesemaker, and one of only 2 female master cheesemakers in the United States. Is a really cool thing and a great representative for the industry. And you know, for us to be able to be here is a lot of fun, and it's really cool. So we appreciate the opportunity.
Well, it's my pleasure having both of you on. I not only just want to thank you two, but also thank Ling, because she did a tremendous amount of work to get this together, to organize it, and I really appreciate that. This doesn't happen just because the 3 of us sit down and say, hey, let's get together. There's a lot of people behind this that helps out, so I appreciate that. It's wonderful to see you again, Pam, TW. I'm sure we'll run into each other, hopefully in San Francisco in January, and everything goes well there.
Hopefully, yeah.
Great. Thank you.
All right. You guys take care. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So everybody else, thank you so much for listening in and spending a little bit of time with us. We really enjoy being able to sit down with the cheesemakers and listen to their stories and talk to them about what they got going on. So it's really a lot of fun, and hopefully you enjoyed that. This will be available on my YouTube channel, Michael Landis Cheese, in the next couple of days. So you can, if you miss the cheeses, you can order them from Sartori, or you can sit down, bring all your friends together. And remember that when you buy a piece of cheese, you're not just supporting the cheesemaker or the company, you're supporting families. You're supporting farmer families, cheesemakers families, people who box cheese. So, you know, there's probably, not to scare anybody, but there's a lot of hands that goes on with that piece of cheese. So, you know, it's greatly appreciated that everybody's supporting them and that. And I really enjoyed being able to spend some time with you. And if you have any questions, reach out to me at Michael Landis Cheese. So you guys take care. And we'll see you next week. So again, thank you for watching Cheese in Depth. I'm Michael Landis. Today's webinar was sponsored by the great folks at Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin. So we really appreciate their support and everything that they do. So take care, be safe, wash your hands.